Hi everyone, it's Jason from Uncaught Exception, and I've got another edition of Too Much Fun, number 30. Is it just me, or is there a boatload of stuff around? I'm finding it hard to keep up. And not just new products from existing vendors, it's entirely new ones I've never heard of before. It is likely that AI is at least partially involved with these, due to the recent advancements in its coding ability. I didn't use the word skill, as I assume people will want to save that for humans. In any case, this means that there are a lot more products in probably every category because things can be shipped more quickly, or people who had a tricky problem coding can get help faster than looking up examples and discussions on Stack Exchange. So here's me doing my best to pick out the things that look interesting, useful, tempting, or amusing. These aren't full reviews, just my thoughts on what the product is, and if it might help us make new things or enjoy existing things. Alright, first up is the music category. First one is Sonic Zest's Chord Sketchpad. This is a web app for arranging chord loops. You can test them in the browser and then export MIDI for use in your DAW or music apps. They also have a drum machine version, and it's free. Next I have a product called Reverie. This one is an ambient soundscape generator for Mac and Windows. It employs 37 effects you can reorder and save as a preset. Not to be confused with another product called Reverie, which is for stretching out sound samples into soundscapes, but I'll get to that another time. Then I have Meyer Devices Tessella. This is a pattern generator for Ableton Full or Max for Live. It reminds me of an iOS app called Fugue Machine Roboto, but it has its own features and flavor. So once again, it's for making patterns of MIDI, and then you send it to your synths or drum machines. Now I have Osterhaus Sounds Notewalker. At last, a novel idea for live MIDI playing. This first plugin by Ben Osterhaus changes how you play notes. The first note is the anchor, then the next keys you play go up or down the scale you choose with your left hand. You have to watch the video to grasp the concept. A time-limited trial is available for you to try out. Now there's Kaloga Unshuffle. So this one is a sample manager. However, it appears to be one that is for sorting your library into new folders rather than leaving everything where it is and just indexing it. So if you don't mind if your samples are moved around and you just want to have it manage all that, give it a try. I personally prefer to have it leave things where they are and just let me search and find different samples. I found a vendor called Buchert Audio. They do a range of plugins, including Tonality EQ, the Warmth Engine, Mess Engine, Depth Engine, and then they give you a freebie called Double Wide, which is clearly a widener. Now I have a thing called Aristotle by Cinematic Alpha. This is a creative reverb, which means you have access to a number of parameters: reverb, delay, filter, gate, and shimmer to get dynamic effects. And I found a group called FX Mechanics. These folks make a few freebies that look interesting, such as Mechanod, which is a physical modeling synth, and Tear, which is a MIDI arpeggiator that supports 4 independent lanes, so you can do polyrhythms. Now is the thing called Vowel Blender by UBDSP. You know that sound when an instrument has a human voice aspect? That's called a formant, and this effect plugin lets you add that to your sound. But there are a ton of modulation options to get dynamic changes. Now I found a thing called Robotremix. So, maker of Max for Live devices Scope, Kicks, and Snooze, which are a stereo wave monitor, pitch-driven kick generator, and sleepy time warper, respectively. This is a reminder that you need to shell out for the full version of Ableton Live in order to be able to use Max for Live devices. Now I found a thing called Beat Canvas. So basically it's a drum machine and it's for the Mac. Yeah, it's cheaper than others you might see, but that appears because this is a standalone product. It doesn't mention any MIDI out or even being able to export your beat as an AIFF or WAV file. So to use it, you'd have to capture the audio using Audio Hijack or a similar product. Now I've got one with a funny name called Soundtrek Voyager. This is an audio utility. For audio files, Apple does not give you enough information about your audio devices. This developer has made an app that can report the resolution of each of your audio devices. However, it will require an audio routing app such as Loopback to work properly. Next up is one called Nasty Looper Xtreme Live by Psytrance Plugins. This is a plugin for live loop work. Each of the 16 pads can have 4 files in it, which can be either one-shots or loops. There is also a synth included, and there appears to be some kind of arpeggiator. It doesn't seem like it can send MIDI out to other plugins though, but it does include a 2 GB sound bank. Now I have Decibel's T2L piano. So the complexity of the sound of a piano is difficult to capture, and if you've outgrown the flabby sounding samples of a stock piano or sound font version, and have been lusting after the quality offered by a Kontakt version, but don't wish to invest in Kontakt, have a look at something like this. It's a normal VST style plugin that combines samples with modeling to attain more realistic piano sounds. There are 8 pianos offered, 38 presets, which total 5 GB worth of piano. There is also a reverb, flanger, chorus, phaser, EQ, compressor, and more effects. Now there's one by Waves Factory called Re-Esser. So Waves Factory want to take you beyond the de-esser with their offering, which is really more of a vocal suite. In addition to powerful de-essing, it boasts a chorus, compressor, convolution reverb, delay, enhancer, EQ, flanger, limiter, lo-fi effect, phaser, pitch shifter, saturator, widener, tremolo, and vibrato. I already bought Pulsar Vocal Studio, which does a few of these jobs, but if I hadn't, I'd probably get this one. Next up is MIDI Remap. This is a tool for remapping MIDI drums, for example going from Get Good Drums to Toontrack, Addictive Drums, Bogrin, Meinst, Ugritone, and others. You can try out a few different conversions for free, then buy single-use credits, or pay for a subscription, which then allows you to download their plugin, which you can use directly in your DAW. Next up is a synth called Spline by The Wave Warden. So Spline has 3 wavetable oscillators for making otherworldly sounds, and the reason it's called Spline is because you can draw splines to make paths that the LFOs will follow. Plus it includes lots of onboard effects like phaser, chorus, delay, flanger, EQ, compression, and reverb, each of which can be controlled by the LFOs, of course. And last in the music section is not for making it, but for organizing the members of your band. It's called Band Boss. So I have to sneak in a few tools that are about managing the music admin side, but there's not always enough for every episode, so I just pop it in with the other music apps. So for those of you who play in a band, you'll know there's lots of stuff to be organized. Services like this allow you to arrange rehearsals, gigs, and contacts. It doesn't seem to have a setlist feature like Band Helper, or a way to display lyrics or send MIDI like Band Helper does, but it integrates with your social media services and can also help with a press kit for promotion. All right, now we're in this sample section. So here's what I found since the last episode. Isaac Haynes has an item called Sound Effects Pack Volume 1. This is over 300 megabytes that includes 164 sounds, which is split into 70 risers, 40 impacts, 30 swooshes, and 24 experimental sounds. Mr. Haynes also does a cinematic and hip-hop pack you can check out while you're there. Now I found a group called Loud Foundry, and their offering is Cyberpunk Mid-Tempo Bundle. This one is over 2,800 files, comprising 600 bass and synth one-shots, 500 drum one-shots, 450 drum loops, 300 bass and synth loops, 400 FX loops and one-shots, and 300 MIDI files, and also 70 presets for everyone's favorite synth, Serum. Now there's one called Free Sound Effects by Mixkit. So Mixkit offers these sound effects for free, and they say they can be used in commercial projects. But if they don't have exactly what you need to subscribe to their owner site, Envato. While we're on the subject of free, there's a site next up called Free Sound. This has over 700,000 free sounds, and some can be used in things you will sell, like music pieces or movie soundtracks. Some of the licenses are Creative Commons with attribution, so you'll have to include that info in your credits. And now I've found a thing called CC Mixter. So this site aims to get musicians to upload samples and singers to upload a cappella samples so that producers can use these in their songs, like a community thing rather than just buying sample packs and downloading them. As this site is still in beta, the commercial licensing information and more information about how it works is not yet available. A few of the links were dead, so keep an eye on it if you're interested. Then we have a thing called the Cylinders Archive. This is old school, so before LPs, recordings were made on cylinders. If you want some ancient, possibly creepy recordings, check this out. Anything older than 31st of December 1922 is now in the public domain. Now I've got a pack called Sweat by Planet Fire Samples. This has got 45 bass loops, 16 bass shots, 20 arpeggio loops, 20 pad loops, 164 drum loops, 77 drum shots, 34 effects, 14 lead shots, 30 melodic loops, 14 song starters, 15 stab loops, 35 stabs, 35 vocals, and 20 chord MIDI files, and of course, Serum presets. Then we've got Ushi Summer Bundle by Ushi Samples. They have 800 megabytes here. That's consisting of 120 drone loops, 60 synth textures, 100 synth shots, 75 kicks, 50 snares, 25 claps, 75 hats, 75 perks, 65 risers, 35 impacts, and 10 downlifters. And last in the section is Fabula Audio's Umbra Medieval Drones and Atmospheres. So this is 12 royalty-free songs that total 51 minutes worth of music, which is broken up into the stems so that you can work them into your own music pieces. Okay, now we're in the Kontakt instruments section. These require Kontakt. Some need the full version, others are okay with the Kontakt player. The first one is Myth Rhythm by Ocean Swift Synthesis. So the Ocean Swift folks call it the ultimate creative playground for drum and FX sound design. It includes over 4,800 samples, and you load these into 16 cells, and then you can play with them using filters, envelopes, LFOs, pitch shifting, dynamics, and modulation control per each cell. So then I have a thing called Desolate Guitars Fragment by E Instruments. So a fragment means it's a freebie of the full product, Desolate Guitars, and for this they used a 60s guitar, they didn't say what kind, recorded through 2 different amps and microphones through a Neve mixing desk. Plus it includes spring reverb, tremolo, and vibrato effects. And last I have the Bronze Kit by Red Pack Drums. Are your drum samples not realistic enough? This product offers 15 gigabytes worth of samples from a solid Bell Bronze drum kit, which they say is valued at over $30,000. There are up to 10 velocity layers in order to get this realism. It's designed for rock or other heavy music. All right, now we're into the Mac section. The first one is called Super Whisper. Need more from your dictation software? This one does use AI, like most of them do, but it works offline. It lets you add custom entries and supports over 100 languages and can translate all of those into English. Next is called HoldSpeak. This one stays in your menu bar to keep out of your way. It's a free download from GitHub. Compare this with WhisperFlow, which I posted about in Too Much Fun number 23 before I started doing the podcast. Next is called Slashit. So their name may be from them declaring that their tool will help you slash the time taken to write things. Some people have more trouble writing than you might be aware of, so this purports to help them. It offers rewriting texts, like the ChatGPT function inside Apple Intelligence, but it also includes text expansion and a clipboard history tool, so I'm including it here in the Mac section rather than the AI or writing section. It's free for personal use, and then to move up to the first tier, it's US $5 a month, which allows unlimited text snippets, and you can also hook up a paid AI service. Also check out, next up, TypoTab. It's another offering that wishes to turn you away from Grammarly or other writing improvers. Once again, it uses AI-based software, and for this they need £6 a month for unlimited use, with an annual discount, as you'd expect. So like HoldSpeak, there's a menu extra, and like Slashit, there's a keyboard shortcut to invoke it. They claim it works in all apps which accept text input. Next is called Bolt AI. Yes, this one could have been in the AI section, because that's what it's about, but it's a Mac-only app, so I've got it here instead. Their claim to fame is that it works better than Apple Intelligence by being bound to a keyboard shortcut, and once invoked, you can have it use OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Mistral, Azure, Bedrock, or local models in one unified workspace. Then I found a thing called App Grow Kit Free Tools by Riplix Studio. So their page includes some free tools for iOS developers, including a keyword rank checker and top App Store charts, plus graphics tools like one to resize the screenshots of your app to those that are acceptable by the App Store. Now I found a thing called Ping Warden. It's a networking tool. I don't prefer to copy and paste the pre-written descriptions, but this one says it all. Pingwarden is a free open-source macOS menu bar app for latency-sensitive games, calls, and cloud streaming. It watches the Apple Wireless Direct Link, which is the network interface used by AirDrop, AirPlay Handoff, and some other features, and it keeps that interface down when ping protection is active. So check this one out if you want to squeeze more bandwidth out of your Mac. Now I found one called Dropcopy, which is a utility for transferring files. So we always need to move files from one device to another, but it can be a pain to have to copy files onto a server and connect to that server from the other machine, or even just turn on file sharing and directly connect between two computers. So this is an app for Mac, iPhone, and iPad, and it claims to make all of that easier. I can tell you're thinking that you just used AirDrop, but this app lets you send to multiple destinations in one hit, and it appears to be free. Next up is a thing called iOS Remote by Dim Cyan. So iPhone mirroring is great, but you may have some issues with it. iOS Remote is for controlling an iOS device from within your browser from Macs, Linux, or Windows. It does not require any jailbreaking to get it to work. However, it does not appear to have been updated in 5 years, so it may only work on your older devices. Now I found a thing called Shortcuts, which is the word shortcuts with no vowels. This is a website for learning the keyboard shortcuts for a number of packages, such as Figma, Framer, Affinity Products, Adobe InDesign, Photoshop and After Effects, Cursor, Notion, Slack, and others. It's pretty cool. You hover your mouse over a command, and the keys for the shortcut are highlighted on an on-screen keyboard. There's another product with the same name, but that one isn't out for iOS, so I'll get to it when it is launched. Now I found a thing called Swift Salamander. This is a file manager, one of those dual pane ones with one folder on each side. It's designed for developers who have many files and folders to work with, going between one source and one destination. There's one called Disk Cleaner. So somehow humans have built these wonderful devices, but we've made them in a way that their storage keeps filling up, making them less performant. Disk Cleaner is one of several apps to help you analyze and battle the buildup of unwanted files. You can use it as an app uninstaller. You drag and drop an app onto it, and it will show you all of the cruft files that it left behind. So I found a thing called OpenLid. This is for people who primarily work on MacBooks. They're often telling a server to do something, but when you close the lid, the Mac goes to sleep and your connection breaks. OpenLid is designed to keep the connection open, and so whatever you're doing keeps working. For example, an SSH session, Cursor, Claude Code, or Codex session, and it keeps your Mac awake automatically for as long as they're working. Now I found a utility called Mr. Plimsoll. So this is by Glenn Fleischman. He's made a utility for monitoring the free space on your volumes so you can be alerted if you're running out of space. It's donationware. Then I found a thing called Uninstally by Goston X. This is a utility for uninstalling things, as you can tell by the name. It completely removes apps and every file they leave behind using Smart Bundle Identifier detection. It also includes a Finder extension. And last in the category is CCC Corners. So this one is a productivity menu bar app. This one lets you open or close apps by dragging your cursor into a hot corner. Right, we're on to the iOS section, and the first one is called Defter Notes. This is an infinite canvas note-taking app for iPad, probably best paired with an Apple Pencil or other stylus. It claims to work the way that your brain does, so you can just keep zooming in and writing notes or drawing scribbles. You can add in images, files such as PDFs, and others. It is subscription-based, of course, but there is a lifetime license offered if you love it. Next is a keyboard called Clink Custom Keyboard. Most keyboard apps are all about the look, letting you change colors and backgrounds. This one includes that, but also boasts some key customization, such as adding a number row, split keyboard, swipe to type, clipboard history, notepad, and its own autocorrect system unrelated to Apple's built-in one. Plus, it's a single purchase, no subscription. Okay, I found one called Fontfi. This is another app for modifying the look of your keyboard, and it also includes a clipboard manager and a symbols keyboard for showing hundreds of other glyphs from the Unicode set. I use a separate Unicode keyboard, and yes, switching back and forth between them can slow you down and is annoying, so this might be handy to have it all in one place. You can also translate your text into dozens of languages, but it does not say how many and which AI software it uses for this task. There are subscription options or a full unlock purchase of $60. Now there's one called Tada, yet another to-do list app. There are so many, but this one may have the right look and feel for you. It hopes to help you get on top of your tasks by showing you how full your day is, plus it supports voice notes and the Apple Pencil. I imagine that's only on the iPad. So next few are to save stuff that you find out on the internet so you can curate it and look at it later. First one is called Linkwise. If only I'd found things like this a few years ago. You wander the web and find all sorts of things to revisit later, but how do you find them again? This one boasts an article reader, which can remove ads and sort things with tags and collections, plus do AI queries of your saved stuff. And it can read articles out to you if you're not able to read them with your eyes. It's $100 a year to use all the AI features. Next, check out Quark. No, nothing to do with the bartender on the DS9 space station or the once ubiquitous page layout software. It's also a collect everything for later app. This one works on the Mac, iPad, or iPhone and will let you save up to 50 items for free or pay $40 for the full Pro version. Warning, it requires OS 26.2 or later on all devices. The last one in this issue's group of Save Anything apps is called Hoarder. This one is free, so it just does the basic capturing and filing. However, it offers sharing of your collections with other people, but I assume they need to install the app too, but it doesn't say so. Okay, there's one called Extra. Like rain, email never stops, and sorting it is a hassle. This app says it will help with that task, as well as dictation. Currently, it's on invitation only, and I don't know how it got on the App Store when that's the case. All right, now we have a few for iOS in the graphics subsection. The first one is called ClearPast AI. This is a photo editing app specifically designed to restore old damaged photos and colorize them if they're black and white. If you find those faded colors and scratches distracting and don't mind that it is somehow less real than the original photo, like one edited in Photoshop would be, then this could be for you. Next is called HeyDaz, which is a new one in a long line of film look camera apps. This is one that shows you the filter live in the preview before you take the shot. 6 looks are provided for free, then subscribe to the Pro version for ongoing new filters. Right, now we have some in the music subsection for iOS. The first one is called Air Piano Pro. This app uses the camera to allow you to play an instrument in the air with your gestures. It currently can't send MIDI out so you can play your other apps. It uses an onboard sound font. Now I found one called AU Studio. I wasn't sure if I should have this in the development section, as it does seem useful for AU plugin developers. However, that area is not specific to iOS, whereas this one is. This tool analyzes all of your AU v3 plugins and has functions for testing them. So, if you're having an issue with one of your plugins, if your developer hasn't heard of this app, you could test it in this app and share the results with them to assist in troubleshooting. It is not intended to be used for making music, just for testing your plugins. Next one is called RiffPad. I should get this because I am often writing a song and I just need some simple melody repeated, or some effects plugins can listen to note data instead of CCs to select their different parameters, like changing a value from 1/4 to 1/8 beats or choosing from different effects. So this RiffPad can just send simple notes in an order and help you make your song. Now I found one called Tone Editor. This is a synth plugin. It appears the developer isn't interested in trying to emulate the appearance of hardware synths and has eschewed rotary knobs, opting to go for low resource using native iOS elements. Then you can play the synth in their companion app TinyRiff. Here's one called Nave Tracker. Go retro. Back in the old days, electronic music was made with trackers, which if you hadn't heard of, was an interface that looks like a table or an array. The table's elements include the note pitch or other data. It looks quite different from a side-scrolling MIDI note interface you might be used to. Then I found one called Line Hum. Mostly we want to get rid of line hum, but some people have used it in drone music. This app is all about making different kinds of hums, which you can then send into other effects apps to make your music. Here's one called Robot Butter. A pleasant to look at effect plugin in which you can use LFOs to control modulation parameters and adaptive reverb to get pulsing, washing, widening, and other dynamic effects. Now there's one called Swarmady or Swarmady number 2. This is a synth that uses 8 oscillators with different frequencies that you can activate independently and then use 2 strips to control the pitch of the second one so that you can make drone sounds. Also available for the Mac as a separate purchase. Next up is called MIDI Morph with an F, another member of a family of apps to turn the iPad into a MIDI controller. This one offers 7 controller layouts, but the thing that turns me off of it is that it needs a server app installed rather than being able to use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi MIDI, and I already have tons of server apps running. Okay, we're into the graphics section. The first one is called SlideEgg. They offer over 100,000 free presentation templates, which they say will work in PowerPoint, Google Slides, or Canva. Now there's one called Armadine. This is vector graphic design software for Mac, iPad, and iPhone. There have been alternatives to Illustrator, the elder of vector design software, for years. This is another of those to check out. There is a lifetime license available, no subscription. But remember, this does not mean updates for life. At some stage there will be a new version that you'll have to buy. Anyway, this one can export in SVG or PDF for the vectors, or directly to TIFF, PNG, and JPEG for your convenience. Check out the feature called the Fusion tool for making complex shapes from overlapping primitives. Okay, I found one called Brick. Technically this is an AI-based system, but I felt it belongs here in the normal graphics section because you use the AI to help you build a customized design tool with your attributes so that you can later use your human fingers to type in values in boxes or to drag sliders to modify the piece. It's kind of like a mini Figma, Motion, or After Effects for doing one single effect or an animated element. If how I've described it doesn't make sense, there are some examples on the site for you to try out. Next up is Text Art Tools. Well, it looks like the graphics section of this blog may be almost unnecessary for the next little while, as this person has already found dozens of sites and apps to be checked out. It's simultaneously inspiring and disappointing to find lists like this, because the thoughts are, do you check against this list each time you find something and only list things that aren't there? Or do I use this as a jumping off point, check a little more thoroughly and add my opinion about them in my listing? For example, I tend to note if the site can actually export a file, or if you need to screenshot it, save work in progress, or if you have to make an account, and if there are any payments or subscriptions. Plus I include some screenshots, which this list doesn't have. But check it out anyway if you're after some more graphic stuff. Next one is called iMonet by Wflixu. This is an image viewer for the Mac, and when you zoom in, it follows your cursor so you don't get lost in the image. Now there's one called Graphite Editor. This is a community-built comprehensive 2D content creation app for graphic design, digital art, and interactive real-time motion graphics, powered by a node-based procedural graphics engine. Now we're into the video section. The first item is the Dopamine Master Bundle. This has over 1,000 video effects, including transitions, burns overlays, film artifacts, film grains, film looks, film mats, sound effects, LUTs, and presets, which seem to be combinations of the above. Now there's one for the color grading fans called Cullen Kelly Color Contour. If you're serious about color grading, you need a serious tool. This gives you a huge amount of control over your color. I will point out that some of the before and after examples are quite subtle because they're only affecting the tone of one object in the frame. But others are more noticeable, especially because they don't mess up the skin tone of the human subject while they change the rest of the frame. Here's one called Alpha Labs DFeedback AI. This appears to be a plugin for removing feedback, reverb, and noise from your audio. They also make an item called the Transient Magnifier. There is very little information on the site except for a YouTube video for each one, and that they're available for both Mac and Windows. I'm not sure how they expect to sell lots of copies if they don't show off their products a bit more. Next up is called QTake by Intucore. Their claim is that it's the most advanced software tool for video assist professionals. Another peek into the world of professional movie making. This one can log, capture, playback, edit, and process video output of any camera, It seems to need special video hardware to use it. It's not clear if it will work without it. At least I can tell you that these folks offer a cloud service so that remote workers can access the shoot quickly, and an iPad app for people on set to see it too. Plus, you can import your script and read it alongside as you watch the clips. Now we're into the development section. All sorts of strange tools for developers of apps and websites. The first item is called Vercel. Their quote is, "Build and deploy the best web experiences with the AI cloud." Yes, I know if you're in development, you have probably already heard of Vercel. I've seen the domain name pop up a few times here and there. If you want to see a gallery of what some of the larger sites are that use it, have a browse of their shipped page. Here's one called AppSignal. AppSignal appears to be for troubleshooting. It understands Ruby, Python, Elixir, Node.js, PHP, and other languages. It can watch live logs and then match an issue to the line that's in the log. Then it feeds it all into Claude, Cursor, or Zed so they can work on the problem and offer a fix. Okay, now there's one called Draper. So it's not really a development tool per se. This one is a guided plan to get your idea off the ground. Then you can do things like plan and track your ad campaigns as it's going. Next up is called Blink. I'm not sure why I haven't seen Blink mentioned a lot more because it looks quite powerful. If you need to admin a server on the go, for example from your iPhone or iPad, this could be the one for you. Plus, there are even more features offered if you want to write code as well, with an $8 a month subscription to Blink Code. And last is called FormSpree. To get text data from your customers, you often need to use a form. But what happens to the data? This product offers help and has already got things like spam filtering included. All right, now we're into the AI section, all sorts of AI-based tools for you. The first one's called Quick LRC. I didn't know this, but LRC is for time-synced lyrics, such as you see in karaoke machines. This is an AI-based LRC lyrics generator. It also supports broadcast subtitle formats like SRT, and it works in 57 languages at press time. Here's one called OpenFang. They call it the Agent Operating System. So pitting itself against OpenClaw, ZeroClaw, CrewAI, AutoGen, and LangGraph, this is for people serious about using agentic AI rather than casual text, image, or song generation. It supports 16 LLM providers at press time. Here's one called OMLX. Their quote is, "LLM inference optimized for your Mac." If that doesn't make much sense to you, they say it's a Mac OS native MLX server with smart caching. I hadn't heard of MLX before, but I can tell you that the smart caching means it doesn't have to go back online to do the next task, so it's faster. They say it's compatible with Claude Code, OpenClaw, Cursor, and any OpenAI compatible client. Here's one called QuickMind, another in a long line of AI-powered transcription apps. This one can do summaries and create action items from your recording. It can identify different speakers and supports over 50 languages. To get this will cost you $80 Australian a year. Now there's one called iDrop. It's a graphics-based one. Images often need captions, and if you have a lot of them, then it can be a drag to write all of those manually. This is a local AI-based Mac app that can recognize the content of an image and it writes a caption for you. Next is called Rodan by Hyper3D. AI and 3D meet again. This platform allows you to make 3D models using AI and then export them in OBJ, FIX, GAB, USDA, and STL formats, shaded and in 4K or 8K resolution. They have a few examples of things built with their tool on the site for you to look at, and you can rotate them in 3D. Now there's one called Zaro. So whether you're in operations, sales, engineering, or marketing, this thing claims it can build custom apps and agents that can interact with your data and do stuff for you. And last I found one called Aside. This is a browser that integrates with an AI so it can do stuff online. I'm thinking this might be like Perplexity's Comet, which after you grant it permission can click on stuff in the browser to do tasks for you, such as when you're researching products prior to purchasing something. They claim that tasks, memory, and data stay on your device for security. Okay, we're into the file sharing section. Here's some tools for moving files from place to place. The first one's called Transfer Pro. That's transfer without an E. Send files up to 100 gigabytes for free and with no registration needed for up to a week. Plus, there are other features like your recipients can preview files directly from the browser before starting a download, but it's not clear if that needs the Pro upgrade at €12 a month. That plan also holds files for 60 days and has unlimited storage per transfer and total storage. Next is called FileShipper FTP by Daranish20. Need to get files from one device to another without any internet access? This open source software, there's no binary app, you have to build it yourself, works from within any modern browser, auto-detects nearby devices, and can display a QR code for easy connections. Now there's one called Internext. That's Internext without a second E. Need to ensure your files are private? This encrypted cloud storage provider offers 1, 3, and 5 terabyte tiers of storage. The files are encrypted locally before they even leave your computer, so you can't claim that they ever saw inside your files. Features include 2-factor authentication, computer backup, and file versioning once you move to the 3 terabyte plan. It is pricey though, so watch out. Okay, now we're into the media consumption section for viewing, watching, reading, etc., things that other people make. The first one's called Blurble. This one might give a few of you that "what is the world coming to" feeling. It holds a selection of classic books and reformats them so that when there is a dialogue between characters, it looks like the characters are messaging each other like you'd see in a chat app. Each character is color-coded so you can easily see who is saying what. I think it's designed to encourage young folks with short attention spans to read old books that they wouldn't otherwise try, and before you get upset, just remember that when I was a kid, people did similar things by turning old books into comic books. I remember seeing The Scarlet Letter at my school, and a few other titles, but I can't recall if I read the whole thing. Now there's one called Lycoria. This is a Mac app that can play from the libraries of Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, or any app that can play in the control center. You can control the music from the menu bar, a widget, the dock, or the native app itself. And last one is called Cog. This is an audio player, also for Mac. This thing has a huge list of supported file types, so if the audio you want to play is in a hodgepodge of formats from the last 30 years, including things like sound fonts and DLS files, check this one out. It's free and open source. And that's it. We've come to the end of Too Much Fun number 30. And now it is time to go back to work, having saved a bunch of new things that you can check out later. Remember, if you make something that has an interface, post a nice clean screenshot of what it looks like so we can get an idea of what it's like to actually use. And then, if it ends up here in Too Much Fun, I will be able to post it easily. Thanks for having a listen, and each link is on the Too Much Fun page, which you can find at Uncaught Exception. That's www.uncaughtexception.com.au, and then click on blog. And thank you for listening, and you'll hear me in the next one.